to today's Aphantasia clip. Doing it inside because it's really noisy out there today. Wouldn't notice it, but lots of birds making their presence felt. So today I asked on Twitter and said, what would anyone like to hear discussed? And one of the things that cropped up was the range or the spectrum of aphantasia and how it fits into the greater spectrum of what everyone can do. So bear with me a minute. I'm going to try and see if I can explain this and describe this. So if you've got aphantasia, you already pretty much know where you are and what this is as a spectrum. Let's take the visual spectrum because that's probably the easiest way to start. So visually speaking, if you see what you see now with your eyes, in terms of what convention that people think is possible, you should be able to create that experience in your mind without using your eyes. That's what it's like if you don't have aphantasia. Now, having said that, that's also a range because there is hyperphantasia, which is the other end. Now, in terms of numbers, I'm trying to do this from memory, so apologies if I've got this wrong. I believe people at hyperphantasia end number about 23% of population. People at aphantasia, which is the other end of the spectrum, is about 2%, probably just over 2%, I think. Now, everyone else is in between. So take away that 23, 2, and you're left with a percentage that makes up 100%. Everyone in the population will be in one of those subgroups. Now, defining where you are in a subgroup of those three is probably best placed by taking the test that was defined, I guess, the best one I know is by the team at Exeter University, to work out where you are. Now that is purely only visually speaking. So that really only defines the visual terms. Now, if we extrapolate that and say, well, okay, if we think visually speaking as a definition of aphantasia, where it started is logical and makes sense. For someone like me, I've got aphantasia in all five senses. So I can't hear anything unless it's via my ears. I can't experience touch, taste and smell unless it's in a live situation in the real world, which I am experiencing it at that moment. So what does that mean? If you think of the percentage terms of 23, the major percentage of the population, the 2%, well, okay, what does that mean for touch? Just take touch as an example. Well, I really don't know, to be truthful. Are all those 23% that are hyperphantasic, do they all have across the board all five senses to similar levels? I don't know, and I'm not sure anyone really knows. The Professor Zeman's probably got the most research on this. I think he's got over 12,000 participants that have taken the test, so he's probably got the most accurate part for visual. But when I did the test, I don't remember having any test that covered sound, touch, taste, smell and the others. So I would say at the moment this is pretty much unknown area. So if anyone knows of research that's doing that, then let me know. I know there's some work going on at Westminster University with Zoe, which I'm one of the participants on, looking at sound. But pretty much this is a new area. So if you already got aphantasia and you think, okay, where's the science going? We're pretty sure of where we all are visually, and sound, I think it's kind of obvious. You kind of know you can or you can't. But the other three, it's kind of complicated. So for example, I'm getting a bit rambling through this, but I'm going to try and rein this back in and think about it. Take taste. Taste is a really good example. Now, if you have a favourite food, say for me it was, I don't know, chicken and chips, I can't begin to express in my mind what that is tasting like. It just is nothing there. There's no no experience at all. I think of the words and I can think, yeah, okay, that would be nice and I like that food. But in terms of what does it taste like, there's nothing. I really got nothing. That's the same for taste, for smell. Now, smell's a brilliant one. At the moment, it's autumn in the UK, probably coming into winter. And if you walk outside in a wooded area where there's leaves, there's grass, it smells of everything that is autumn. Yet, as soon as you take that away and I'm back indoors, I've got none of the idea of what that smells like. It's literally gone. There is nothing. Yet when I'm in that environment, I get all that smell and I can smell, and that's all there for me to be experienced. But with my aphantasia, not having smell as an experience I can replicate in my mind, as I called it this morning in a tweet, an offline experience as opposed to a real world experience. When I take it offline and I try and do it in my mind, there is nothing. Now, I'm going to say that is not the same as everyone. I imagine there's going to be a spectrum for this. But the curious thing would be, is what does it look like? Do we go from everyone saying, yeah, I get everything, to, oh, I don't really get everything? Now, in visual terms, that's easier to explain because you go, okay, yeah, I get like a high definition picture. Yeah, I get nothing. Okay, I get like a low definition picture and some bits I can't reproduce. So you can see, for visually speaking, it's kind of logical how you can develop the ability range. But for taste and smell, how would we even comprehend what that is? We'd need to fill the gaps in of, okay, what does the spectrum look like for that? Now, I find this really fascinating, which is probably why I'm talking too much, and it's not very, it's not constrained into a cohesive experience and message. But I'm really fascinated by this. I wonder what each of us has experienced, is how we're different. So if I said to you, okay, what happens when you try and think of a smell or a taste? How does it work? Do you get that taste? If you get that taste? And it's one thing I thought about as soon as I realised this. I bet people who are very good chefs can actually manipulate smells and taste together to create food in a way that I could never imagine doing. Because how could I create something new when I can't even imagine what the smell looks like, tastes like, excuse me, when I'm not experiencing it? So you think, okay, yeah, what would chili and sour cream, would that go together? Well, I wouldn't know, because unless I'd actually tried it and said, oh no, I don't like that, I wouldn't have known I liked it. So it's very much an experience to learn. Now, I'm going to try and have a think about maybe explaining this better, but I wanted to share this stuff just so people had a thought about what they may think of. So share ideas. I'm going to try and upload this on YouTube today and Facebook and the other platforms. But share ideas and thoughts, because I think it's important we actually understand this, because the scientists and the professors and the medical professionals, they're not really going to understand this bit until we start trying to express it to them in words that they can articulate and make sense, or we can articulate and they can make sense of, because it is just something you can only experience in your own mind. Anyway, have a think about that, and by all means share your own thoughts and ideas, but I'm going to cover this in a bigger range. So this is going to be over a few, probably, of these clips, going to cover hyperphantasia and the other 5 senses, the other 3 that I don't normally talk about in such detail, but trying to express and explain them so we can think what they mean. Anyway, thanks for watching.